This is a questionable reality production. Hello, I'm Zander Crowns, and this is AP Post History. Now let's get started. Today we'll be covering topic 3.5, the Great War of Sustained Nonsense. So the big four nations of the world had started a war, and now it is time for it to begin. However, conducting a war is actually quite a tricky notion. The journalists had filled in the gaps linked to why a war was starting, but now actual motions of the play needed to be determined. So the Big Four's next step was to hire several screenwriters and playwrights who would connive daring or evil characters with dramatic moments that would define this war. From Miskaba Skips, who courageously held the fort on the River Hutchin, to Commander Mondo Johnson, who betrayed his entire company for a year's supply of butter from the Tawad, or even Lieutenant Matthias Shire, who refused to attack a civilian village and was later executed for insubordination. Quite a eclectic and diverse and dynamic cast was engineered for this war. An additional bonus of this war was that every actor in the world suddenly found employment, as someone had to fill in the roles of war, and they were further accompanied by a massive team of choreographers from the company Dancing Without Salmon. This team was of course tricked into thinking that they were actually creating some grand motion picture that would probably flop and lose the company a lot of money, but regardless. While the actors assumed their roles, the choreographers made sure they knew how to fight and do the military dance. The Big Four leaders rebranded themselves as directors and the creative team behind this grand project, which they named World War II. As due to the apocalypse, people had lost count of how many world wars there had been, which, it just sometimes happens. Within a few days, media surrounding the war was in full force. This included thousands of interviews with frontline soldiers, 24-hour coverage of developments, first-hand accounts of battles, autobiographies, plays by plays, and the list goes endlessly on. What is truly important to know is that all of these functions were state-ran, and thus the profits went directly to the government and greedy politicians. In fact, let's turn to the History Makers segment, where Supreme Leader No Salmon Here of the Tawads discusses the war. Life's experiences always tries to say that war is such an ugly thing, that the death of a million is a tragedy. But what life so keenly forgets is that people get obsessed with this whole war thing and endlessly want more of it, while ever essential national sentiments can be so ever beautifully crafted. World War II has made people proud to be Tawads, and has made me incredibly rich. So, the effort to build the war was well-oiled and working incredibly well, with strong national characters pouring out like they're from freshly tapped wells. However, problems began to occur, in that civilians wanted to enlist in this war, but by doing so, they could be made aware that this was a staged event. However, this didn't exactly sway anybody. That ever-conniving government, they had solutions. First was mandating method acting so that the war actors would not break character ever and pretend to be confused if their real identity was mentioned. Moreover, since so far the casualty count was actually completely arbitrary, with no one actually dying, it was concluded that these enlisted people would be specifically marked as having the potential to die, with their death being determined before each battle by a choreographer rolling a 2d6 dice, with cat's eye meaning that soldier was going to die. This made death statistics actually rather quite tidy and fun. This was not the only threat to maintain the war, however. The commoners in the Commonwealth of the Commons were growing suspicious that all this war stuff was being done by some clandestine central government, and they sought to uncover the mystery. You see, no central governments were allowed in the commons. That was the antithesis to their very existence. Then a group of ambitious and suburban moms were exposed as the Commons war coordinators. Then, of course, someone ran over a secretary's cat and refused to pay for its medical costs, which was mandated by social norms, which sent the Commons over the edge, as now there was a central government and a complete collapse of social norms. This resulted in massive unrest, a political revolution, and the complete seizure of the Commons war effort. Then, all of the actors, screenwriters, and choreographers who were just recently released, who felt they had done a job well done in World War II, loudly celebrated their achievement, with the unfortunate effect of waking up the world to a massive government conspiracy, which is not good if it's true. However, the media, being state-controlled, was able to stifle these rumors and therefore their damaging effects. The real major and final fault was that the whole team behind this whole show either got tired of the war and wanted to go on to bigger and better projects, or started butting heads with other production big shots, specifically on what direction World War II should take. This led to deep and divisive arguments that would lead to our next chapter. And that's it. Topic 3 of Unit 5 is complete. If you want to find success in your post-history class and be an extra in a fake war, consider subscribing and liking this video. My goal is to see each and every one of you get a 92 in your class and a 7 on the AP test in Quintober. Alright, Zander Crowns, checking out.